Hey there, welcome back everyone to an episode of Eric's Drink Whiskey. Miller here, and I'm drinking three scotches that Eric and I are really excited about, especially to feature as part of Scotchtober, and that is the Campbeltown Malts. Campbeltown is a town in Scotland, one of the six Scotch producing regions. So you know Islay, you know Highland, Lowland, Speyside. There's also the islands um, that kind of encompass everything north of Islay, and those are kind of an Islay light in flavor. And there's Campbeltown. It's a little teeny tiny town across the water from Islay. It's kind of its own loch. The thing that makes Campbeltown unique, the turn of the century, it was the whiskey capital of the world. Um, Research shows that there's almost 300 distilleries there. Hard times hit them with World War One, Prohibition, things like that, and it has all dwindled down to three: Springbank, Glen Scotia, and Kilkerran. Um, and I am fortunate enough to have found all three here. Again, these are the only three distilleries from this region, so it's actually pretty cool to find these. So, what are they? What makes them unique? We're going to find that out. Aside from it being its own region, it's just Scotch. It's a single malt Scotch made with malted barley, of course. Um, Nothing fancy on finishes or anything like that. My Springbank is 10 years old, my Glen Scotia is 15, and my Kilkerran is 12. Um, I also have, and didn't bring it out to feature just because it would be such a wild card, a Kilkerran Heavy Peat, which is right up my alley. But not, I know there's not a lot of peat heads out there. Um, it is an acquired taste, but so we're just going to jump in. Campbeltown malts are known for the quote unquote Campbeltown funk. So we're going to see if we can kind of unlock that. Now, if you recall, Eric and I did feature Glen Scotia 15 in an episode not too long back. But this is the first appearance of all three of these guys at the same time. So, in no particular order, we'll start with the Springbank. 92 proof, 46%, 10 years old. It's just that good kind of barley, that barley Scotch note, very akin to a Highland. Um, that very bready, granola-y, kind of sweet and nutty, with just a hint of picking up some raisins and stuff. And there's something there. It's I don't know what to say. It's obviously the funk, but I don't know how to describe it. So let's see if it comes through on the taste. It's like a hint of the brine of like an Ardbeg, one of those kind of 10-ish-year-old Islas, and like a creaminess. So like a younger Isla, that kind of creamy, young barley nose. Mm, damn, that's good. That's a weird magpie. Um, I get just like it's a very nice berry sweetness. If you think back to our old Isla, young Isla from last week, um, very akin to kind of the berry notes that we got from the Lagavulin 16. What this also has is that kind of brininess. It's not quite like the tarriness of an Ardbeg and Isla. It's not smoky, but there's just something there. It's and I did this, and it's not this, but it's almost like if you took the best parts of a Highland, like Glenmorangie 10 year, and the best parts of an Ardbeg 10, let's say, and merge them together. Um, Super good Scotch, super good. Also worth noting, this is non-chill filtered, so it's got all those naturally occurring oils in there. So it does have a really nice, thick, rich mouthfeel. Now, I'm going to cleanse the palate. This one, Glen Scotia, again, is 5 years older. Scotch years, that's not a lot because of how slowly those things mature. Obviously, a bourbon would be, a jump from 10 to 15 years would be ridiculous. But this is a different distillery. What I get is a lot more oak. I can definitely smell that cask. There's definitely a rich berryness, like a dark berry, cherry, raspberry type. These are probably all harkening back to that Glen Scotia episode we did. I do remember thinking this was very fruity and almost wondered if it was a sherry, but it's not. Completely different Scotch, obviously. Very berry-y. It's like the best parts of like the cordial cherries. It's kind of fruity, and there's also a saltiness to it. And then there's some oak to balance it out. Just a really good Scotch, and I'm surprised again that this is not a sherried Scotch, because that's something that I would expect from a sherry, that kind of burst of the dark fruits and things like that to then be balanced out by something. This one is also non-chill filtered, so again, nice thick rich mouthfeel. Really, really good. I actually had the chance to share this with my father-in-law, who's a big Scotch drinker, and it was surprising. It's a completely different flavor profile from anything else out there. He actually really enjoyed it. So. Now, last but certainly not least, Kilkerran. This one is lighter in color. I don't know what the other two, what their position is on coloring. I don't know if they're finished. There's nothing really said. It does look like this one might be chill filtered, as it doesn't say that it isn't. But this one is a fair bit lighter. So as you know, Scotch can add caramel color without having to disclose it. But several, don't. So I don't know what's going on here, but let's jump in. Kilkerran, 12 year. Nice kind of your classic, single malt nose. Nothing remarkable. There is kind of that. It's like a cream cheese, like a charcuterie board, like that. You got your meat and your cheese. It's that smooth creaminess that's floating on top of there. A little bit of like a saltiness kind of to that. Nice and sweet. It's got a nice pepperiness to it. And then it too has that has kind of that brininess, that peatiness. So it's very unique. I would almost recommend, if you wanted to get into a Scotch that had a little bit of that peat flavor, and you can get your hands on one of these, either the Springbank or the Kilkerran, do it, and that'll kind of indoctrinate you to that flavor without it being really in your face, because it's actually really interesting. So that there's just kind of that layer. And it makes sense because it's kind of halfway between the Highlands and Iowa, so that it has uh, influences from both. Makes a lot of sense. Now the Glen Scotia, I don't know if it's because it's older, but we did find that with the Lagavulin that brininess did fade with age, but I don't get it on this as much as I do these other two. It does have a little bit of that funky nose, but when it comes to the little bit of a brininess, these two have Glen Scotia beat, but they do all have that kind of commonality, that kind of funky cheese on the nose. Really cool. So let's talk price. We did say the last Scotchtober when we first jumped into Scotches are more expensive than bourbon. They've got to be made, they've got to be aged longer, they've got to be imported. So there is a little bit of a sliding scale on price. Right off the bat, Glen Scotia and Kilkerran, both of these will run you about $80 retail. I found Glen Scotia at one of our big box stores, Total Wine. I found the Kilkerran, both my Kilkerran, at a little local store. Same price. Happy to shell it out, support local business. Springbank. I'm pretty sure back when I bought this, it was in the $80 price range too. Now it retails for $100. Springbank is one of the more popular of the Campbeltown expressions. You can get a Springbank 15 also, I believe. The Springbank's going to be a little bit higher ticket to ride. And then there's multiple expressions. There's a double cask Glen Scotia. Again, there's the heavy peated Kilkerran, and so on and whatnot. So, bang for your buck, because that's what Eric's Drink Whiskey is all about. Are these scotches worth what I paid for them? Yes, they're absolutely delicious. I'd balk at 100 for this. If I saw this on the shelf at 100, I'd probably be like, unless you just want to, collect all of the Campbeltons so you can snap your fingers and half of the blended scotch goes away. That was a bad Avengers joke, sorry. Then you'll snag this and you'll realize that you paid maybe a little bit too much for it. But there is a novelty to these, that there's only 3 distilleries from this region. There's no sourcing, there's none of that. You got Kilkerran, Glen Scotia, and Springbank. That's all you're going to get out of Campbeltown, at least for the foreseeable future. Which one would I recommend? For the budget-conscious buyer, the Springbank and the Kilkerran are similar enough that I would say if you've got the cash for one but not both, go for Kilkerran. And then I feel like that's the gateway. This was my first Campbeltown, and you see what happened. We got the other ones. But the caveat to that is, if you're not a fan of kind of that brininess, and I'm not talking about smoke, I'm not talking about tarriness, but kind of that salty, seaweedy taste, then go for the Glen Scotia. If you're going one or the other, this is actually, age-wise, what you're getting, this is probably your best buy, the Glen Scotia. You're getting a 15-year-old product for $80. And it's very, very, very good. And it's going to be one that's going to be able to be enjoyed by more folks than maybe just the Kilkerran. But am I sad about any of these? Absolutely not. I love the uniqueness of the Campbeltown flavor. I'm happy that I have these. I'm happy to be able to share them with you. And I hope you have enjoyed hearing a little bit about me yammering through the 3 Campbeltown malts, Springbank, Glen Scotia, and Kilkerran. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. The social media information is going to be coming after the video. Also, check out our podcast, EDWNCF. That's Eric's Drink Whiskey Non-Chill Filtered, on Apple Podcasts and Shout Engine. That is where the audio from Eric and my combined episodes goes to live in its pure, unadulterated form. So for every 20-minute episode that we crank out, there's probably about an hour of us going back and forth about all the conspiracies surrounding whiskey. So, really important that you you know, get clued in on social media and YouTube. We will have a special um, surprise coming at the end of Scotchtober, a kind of grand finale for the month. We're very much looking forward to it. But until next time, pick this guy right here in the middle. Thank you for joining me, and cheers.